Welcome to Chapter 7, which is all about musical expressions, including tempo and dynamics. Tempo is the rate of speed or the pace of music, and dynamics describes the volumes, the loudness and the softness of the music. And these two things, tempo and dynamics, are used by composers to deliver expressive and emotional meanings to the music. We use quite a few Italian words to describe tempo and dynamics, so we would like you to learn some of the basic ones. Allegro means fast. Moderato, of course, means moderate tempo. Adagio is one of the very slow tempo markings. You also want to know accelerando, when a tempo speeds up, and ritardando, when a tempo slows down. On the dynamics or volume side of things, we use the word forte for loud musical dynamics and piano for soft. Looks like the instrument, the piano, but we pronounce it piano. As we said, these are means of expressions for composers. Most Western music has steady underlying beats. The relative speed of these beats determines the tempo of the music. A brisk tempo might be associated with happiness, while a slow tempo might indicate despair or sadness. Because of the connection between tempo and mood, tempo markings can indicate the character of a piece as well as its speed. The use of Italian to indicate tempo reflects the dominance of Italian music in Europe when the tradition of providing such performance directions was established. Some of the most common tempo markings are largo for a broad, very slow tempo, adagio, another very slow tempo, andante means a tempo that's like a medium walking pace, moderato, of course, a moderate speed, and allegro, a fast speed, cheerful. Vivace is very fast. Presto is also a very fast marking. And composers can also use modifiers such as molto, which means very. So you could say molto largo, very slow. Meno, less of something. Poco, you could say poco adagio, a little bit slow. So those are some of the choices that are available. And so tempo is something we see in life all around us. The planets revolve around the sun at a certain tempo. The waves come into shore at a certain tempo. The earth revolves at a certain tempo. And like this photograph here of bicycle racers, of course, they're moving at very fast tempos when they're trying to win the race. So we're talking about now the musical equivalents of all those things. Musicians use a mechanical device, such as you see pictured there. That's a very old style, a wind-up metronome. Now, of course, metronomes are electronic most of the time. And musicians practice with metronomes to acquire the skill of maintaining a very precise tempo from the beginning of a composition to the end, without speeding up and without rushing. It's more difficult than you might think. Young musicians inevitably rush tempos. So one of the things we try and get them to do is to lay back a little bit on the tempo and keep it the same. Another word that we will encounter in the course is rubato. And that is not a strict tempo. That's a special word that tells the performer that they are allowed to take liberties with the tempo. Sometimes slightly speeding up, sometimes slightly slowing down. We'll see that with Frédéric Chopin's piano music. Most definitely, he liked to have a lot of rubato effects, kind of floaty tempos going on. Now here's an interesting sort of speedometer that has beats per minute for a couple of different famous musical compositions. These are some things that will be familiar to some of our students. And next to the number of beats per minute are some of those Italian tempo markings that we just discussed, adagio, moderato, allegro, and so forth. So let's check out a few of these classic compositions and their proper tempos, as the composers indicated that they be played at.
mit Näglein besteckt, schlupf unter die Deck.
Dynamics denote the volume at which music is played. The loudness or softness of a portion of music can affect our emotional response to it. The main dynamic indications are based on the Italian words for soft, piano, and loud, forte. Now you can break these down and have more extreme forms of piano. In the music, if the composer writes two P's, lowercase, it's pianissimo, very soft. An M before a dynamic marking means moderately. So MP means moderately soft, MF means mezzo forte, or moderately loud. Two Fs means fortissimo, one of the very loud dynamics. And a crescendo is for the music to gradually get louder, and a diminuendo is for the music to gradually get softer. Here's an interesting exercise. We're going to take the third movement from Mozart's Ein klein Nachtmusik, a very famous piece of music that you will be studying later in this course. And Mozart instructed the performers to play this music at the mezzo forte level, medium loud. So I'm going to start the music playing, but then we'll switch around. We'll try pianissimo, we'll try fortissimo, and you'll be able to hear the differences in dynamic levels based on these markings that we see in the sheet music that indicate how loudly or softly the music is to be played. Composers add tempo and dynamic markings to shape the expressive content of the music. The number of expression markings in the music has increased steadily since the late 18th century. And later on in this course, you'll see how the Romantic composers were very precise about their dynamic markings and expression markings of all different types to bring more emotion into the music. Despite composers' efforts to make their intents as well known as possible, the common indications for tempo and dynamics are somewhat imprecise, leaving it up to performers and conductors to interpret what exactly the composer meant in a particular context. And dynamics in music may be compared in a way to light and shadows, such as you see in photographs and in art, visual art. And here you see an example of some sheet music, the very famous first opening of Beethoven's Symphony No. 5, the famous four-note motif, which first appears very loud, dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun, and then it appears quieter over here, da 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 da, and it also is faster there. So one short example of composers using the different dynamic markings fortissimo and piano in the music.